Reporter Jim Kirchner joins me right now, and tonight we're going to be speaking with outgoing emergency manager Kevin Orr. First of all, Mr. Orr, thank you very much for joining us tonight here on your last night as the emergency manager. A lot of celebration going on today, but how do you convince the retirees who really took a bath in this whole thing that they should be celebrating?
Well, Jim, you know, it's an interesting time because we're turning a page, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But the reality is we're able to straighten out the balance sheet and sort of build a good foundation for the city to move forward. So we're grateful for the commitment that retirees made as well.
But in every bankruptcy, there are winners and losers. In this case, the city is the winner. The residents arguably could be the winner because they're going to see improved city services. But you have 23,000 retirees taking a huge hit in their health care and also some pension cuts.
Yeah, we do. I mean, unfortunately, in order to balance the sheet, the retiree health care was going to spiral out of control and be as much as 60% of the general fund budget in the out years. So we established a VEBA, Voluntary Employee Benefit Association, that we will fund through a note of $430 million to provide that health care, but it really frees the city up from uncontrollable costs and allows the city the opportunity to redirect some of those resources to get to those services for the citizens.
A lot of people keep asking me the same question. They say, how do we make sure Detroit doesn't get back into the trouble it got into before? What mechanisms are in place as you leave town to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Well, there's several mechanisms. I mean, first of all, the city elected officials, mayor, city council, as well as the senior staff in the city are very focused on making sure that they keep fidelity with the plan of adjustment going out. But in addition, you had a Financial Review Commission, which is very normal. New York had Municipal Assistance Corporation. D.C. had the D.C. Control Board. John Hill, the city's current CFO, is the first executive director of the D.C. Control Board. So you have people both at the city senior staff level, the elected officials level, as well as the review commission level that have all done this in some iteration or below. It's very normal to have that level of oversight. And if the city pushes out its balanced budget for 3 consecutive years, that oversight stands down. So there are a lot of safeguards in place, and I'm very confident we'll be able to do that.
Detroit needs to be a good place to also live as well as just work and play. This is a beginning for the city. And you were at the news conference this morning when the governor talked about how the emergency manager has not worked well inside the Detroit public schools. Do you think that's the next step for this governor? You know him as well as anybody.
Well, I'm not going to, try to predict what the governor may or may not do with the public schools. Suffice it to say he's well aware of that issue, and I'm sure just like the one thing you can be sure of with Governor Snyder, he is very focused and very deliberative, and I am confident he's going to come up with a solution for that just like he did here.
All right, Mr. Orr, we asked some of our viewers to weigh in with questions via Facebook and our website. So here's one here. I hear this again from a ton of people. How can the legal fees be justified? Does a lawyer actually need to be paid to walk down the street or to watch media coverage? We've been going over those bills, and I know you have too. How do you justify those expenditures?
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. In fact, even today, the lawyers are working together on a number of agreements to push out these settlements. The reality is we relieved the city of $7 billion in debt. We dealt with another roughly $3 billion in obligations of the city, so you have $10 billion. The legal fees are about 1.5% of that savings. That being said, it is expensive, but by any measure, everyone said that it's historical. It's an extraordinary outcome in a very short period of time, and that took some effort. So I recognize it's expensive, but the outcome is really very, very unique and very exceptional.
Yeah, agreed. It's a very small percentage of the overall amount. Everybody understands that, but still, some of these expenditures just seemed a little weird to get paid to sit and watch TV, for instance, or to walk down the street to court.
Well, no, you have to get back and forth to court, Jim, and we understand that. And sometimes I haven't gone over the specific ones you're talking about, but suffice it to say the outcome is really what matters. And as was said many times by a lot of different people, it's almost miraculous, the outcome that we've gotten here in a period of time to deal with literally generations of issues that the city has to go through. So it is expensive, but it was necessary to get to the point we're at today.
One last question on that. I believe the plan of adjustment has set aside $177 million to pay these bills. Are you indicating now that the total tab might be trimmed back because of what's going on inside mediation?
Well, as you know, the mediation is confidential, so I can't speak to what's going there. Suffice it to say, the fee reserve, professional fee reserve, is there, so it doesn't impact the feasibility of the plan and won't impact the ability of the city to move forward and push out those services. So that'll be eventually resolved and presented before the court, but it doesn't impact the plan one bit.
Another question from our viewers. Why did you and Governor Snyder hire bankruptcy attorneys from New York and Ohio and elsewhere? Do you mean to say that Detroit doesn't have competent bankruptcy lawyers and law firms that would have saved millions of dollars in travel and hotel costs alone?
No, not at all. But this was a historic effort where you wanted the best talent that you could find, and there's certainly excellent talent here. In fact, some of that talent were co-counsel to the city's restructuring professionals, some of the finest firms in town. Some of that talent also worked for some of the retiree committees and other participants in town, so they actually participated in the case, and in fact, some of the fees you're talking about were paid to local firms. But suffice it to say this, there were roughly 21 firms that petitioned to represent the city now these many months ago, and there were firms that were selected that had the best opportunity to put the city on a substantial historic footing, and that's what occurred.
Another question from a viewer that we got: before you bid Detroit farewell, which is happening tonight, what's the most important thing you would advise the new capable mayor, that's the term from the viewer, to focus on what you believe is imperative for a positive recovery and a better Detroit?
Well, I think the mayor has already said that he is committed to the plan of adjustment, he is committed to reform, he is committed to staying within the confines required by the Financial Review Commission and the state assistance as well as the state law. So I don't think I really have to advise the mayor of anything. I think the mayor has already said that he's prepared to go forward with the plan that we've laid out, and I am confident that he's going to do exactly that.
And here's kind of an off-the-wall question. What has surprised you the most in your term as emergency manager and then also going through the bankruptcy process?
You know, I really haven't been surprised by anything. I mean, I've done other matters that were sort of notable during that time, the Chrysler bankruptcy and the Whitewater investigation when I was in federal government. So I've seen other high-profile matters. I guess the thing here that I'm very thankful for is sort of the patience and tolerance of the body politic, the people of the city that soldiered through this whole thing, when some people didn't really give us an opportunity or thought that we'd have the credit to do that. And I think Detroit really stood up and showed itself well, so I'm very thankful for that.
I wanted to bring something up here. During this point of bankruptcy, you'd think, I mean, obviously, if you looked at the national press, it looked like the city was almost on fire the way they kept talking about bankruptcy. Yet, Dan Gilbert kept buying buildings. The Ilitch family stepped up with a new arena. Cobo Hall was being improved. They were installing new streetlights all over the city. All this was happening while everybody else thought bankruptcy was a bad thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, I think people who are investors are looking for a value proposition will look at the opportunity that the city provides once you get your balance sheet and operations in order, and that, you know, it's that same old saw, right? Buy low, sell high. There's great opportunities here in the city, so why wouldn't you do that? Every great city has benefactors. Los Angeles had William Randolph Hearst, you know, New York had the Astors and had the Rockefellers, and these people are sort of our benefactors helping this city move forward and providing new development and economic development here in the city, and that's a great thing. So, hey, if smart people like that with proven track records of success are willing to make that kind of investment, it sort of tells you something, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does indeed. You are aware that there's a small group of these retirees who plan to appeal. Does that concern you that the Court of Appeals in Cincinnati could blow this thing up?
No, in every case I've been involved in, certainly ones that are most notable, there's always someone interested in taking an appeal. And you know what? That's their legal right. That's the right under our laws and our justice system. But I think that we made our case, we met our burden in court. I think that the judge's opinion was rock solid and ironclad, and so people are certainly permitted to go and pursue the rights that they have, but I'm confident with the results that we got.
We have about a minute left, Mr. Orr. A couple personal questions here, one from a viewer and then one from me. Are you confident that you did your job well enough that Detroit will not need an emergency manager again for many years to come? And my question is, are you going to come back and visit us once you leave Detroit?
Oh, since I graduated law school in '83, I've been to Detroit every year. And so I've always come back to visit Detroit, whether it's on business or whether it's on pleasure. And the other thing, I think the job that we've done as a group, and remember, this is a team effort with the state, the legislature, the elected officials here in the city staff, the employees. I mean, this is really a team effort. The foundations, the mediators, Judge Rhodes, Judge Rosen, has really been a tremendous job. I'm confident that the people that are going to take this forward are very committed to making sure that we don't have to run up against that risk again.
What do you plan to do next?
I don't have any plans. I'm going to take the rest of the year off, and I'm sure my wife is going to have a plan for me to get off the couch and go find a job at some point. But I don't have anything anything in the hopper right now.
You're aware the rest of the year is about 3 weeks long. I think you might.
She's not going to give me a lot of time. She's not going to give me a lot of time.
I was thinking
right.
after the last 18 months, and you've been pulling. I don't even want to guess how long of a workload you've been pulling here, but you certainly have worked hard, and I think people are indeed amazed at how quickly this got done. You have set a blueprint. Do you ever expect to get called up by the next city down the line that finds itself in trouble?
No, each city is different, and right now I think it's just time to sit back and decompress a little bit and spend some time with the family. And frankly, all of us, at least that have our health and a job, can take a step back and be thankful that we have the bounty here in America and that we have the opportunity to have that in a safe and secure environment. So I'm just very thankful to have had this opportunity to help the city, but also to spend some time with my family.
All right, Kevin Orr, thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure dealing with you over the last 18 months, and thanks for taking the time as perhaps your last official act as city emergency manager, talking with us here on Action News tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're going to have to refer to him now as former emergency manager.
Former emergency manager.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Again, thanks to Kevin Orr, and thank you very much, Jim.